Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today is a 61 Benz episode, specifically on the sending unit for the gas tank. But it's not out of a 61, it's a newer one. I don't know which model it was. It was a couple years newer. It doesn't have the flapper. It's one of these cylindrical units. Probably recognize it by its cover. It looks like this. This actually slips over it. I got a tank. I did find another tank. This Molotov cocktail is gonna go away. But I got a used tank on eBay. Finally, it's in good shape. It's right here. And it came with a broken sending unit. This is out of a newer car. It all bolts in and everything. It's just the sending unit was different and the connector doesn't match onto the car. But I'm going to work with what I got. Anyway, so here's the unit. Here's the unit on the inside. This cylinder piece slides over it. And then it's got a cap. It's got a little flow maze, which allows the fuel to flow in and out very slowly. That way your gauge isn't bouncing around as you're making turns. And it's got a cap. It's rusted. So when I opened this up, this sending unit came with the tank. The dude said it didn't work. He was right. But I still wanted it because I think I can fix it. So I already made some repairs to it. I fixed the back connections on the rivets. I'm going to put that right here. So you could see how I jumpered the rivets to the actual tabs that need to conduct. What happens, it's once again like the blinker switch. The rivets that are riveted to the tab, the rust develops underneath the rivet crimp. And it's hard to like reseat those once you get rust growing in there. So what I do is I just tiny jumper it like that from the head of the rivet to whatever it needs to make contact with. It's an old trick. Anyway, this thing's pretty rusty, but I already plugged it in. Me and Junior tested it. So the gauge part works. The light does not work. I'm not too concerned. I'm still going to try to fix it. I think I can jumper one more rivet up here. I'm going to try fixing it. But I don't think I will ever take this thing down to the light because that gas tank is so flat. You know, if you can't read that gauge and you're driving below a quarter tank on one of these flat tanks, you know, it sloshes around. Yeah, you should probably pull over and get some gas. But anyway, it's low-hanging fruit. I'm going to try to see if I can make that gauge, that light work. Also, this is not the right pattern for the 1961 220 SB. This is from the new car. And I think this is from like a 2 or 3 something. I have to look it up. I'll put it in the comments. But all you have to do is I took the connector apart, which was partially broke. Here's the other piece. So I depinned it. These are pretty easy. It's just they unscrew, the pin comes out. The actual sockets still fit over the stud, so I'm going to put them on so the gauge actually works. We've tested it. The signals go up and down through the car to the cluster. So I'm going to try to fix this light real quick. And I got to figure out, the problem is up here at the tip. So when this thing is actually in there backwards like this, and when this thing slides down when you're empty, there is a little gold washer at the bottom of the float, and it makes contact with these two contacts down here. Now, this thing's really fragile. There's 3 wires strung. The real thin wire that's opposing is actually resistor wire. It's not just any wire, it's a resistor wire. And as the float goes up and down, it shorts across the wire and changes the resistance for the gauge. The gold wire is the return for the light signal. But one of these rivets up here has got the rusty connection. So I'm going to try to maybe jumper it real quick, but it may be that it's rusted onto the actual support rod here. I can't fix that easily, so if I can't fix this real quick, I want to give up on the light and just take my blessings and go with the working gas gauge. Like I said, I will never take this thing down to the light. It'll never activate. It's just crazy. But anyway, that's what I'm doing now. Anyway, so I got the prongs hooked up to my meter. If I put pressure on the disc, you actually hear the ohm meter making noise. So it's like it's almost making contact. So it's actually the disc that's corroded. It's not corroded, it's just oxidized. That may fix itself when you get gas on it, you know. But I'm gonna sort of lightly clean it here. Just get the crud. Whatever this came out of, the gas tank sat empty. I don't think it's out of this gas tank. Maybe it is, but so now it works. That's the flow. That's the reserve light. All right. So this is now working. We're gonna reassemble it. It's super fragile. I'm going to try to fix this tube here. I gotta take sandpaper the disc. This may take more than sandpaper. Use some carburetor spray. This is just some carbon choke cleaner to clean up the maze wheel. That's what goes inside. It's supposed to be slow filling, like I said, so when the put this over it, when the gas sloshes around in there, it when the gas sloshes around, the gauge doesn't bounce up and down. Actually, I need to clean out this tube too. Now we assemble it. There's a notch for the rotation. Then you drop in your little maze disc. That actually screws in a tiny bit. Put the cap disc, and there's a little, like a little plastic nut. That kind of fits in there. Just like that. Doesn't have to be too tight. I'm just finger tightening it. I'm going to test it one more time. Put my resistometer, ground, gauge. Let's try the warning light. So the warning light works. You hear it. And then I turn the gauge the other way. So that's the warning light for the low gas. And then we're going to move this to the gauge. Put it on resistance. So it's 66 ohms. When it's out of gas, I'm going to flip it to full tank. And it's 6.3 ohms. So I'm gonna slowly make it go so you kind of see the number move. It's hard to do it, but I'd have to hook up my analog gauge, which actually I can do, just so you get an analog. If you're an analog kind of a person, let's get this going. So this is short. So this is a full tank, and if I flip it, start to flip it, you can see this is going to an empty tank, and now that's an empty tank. So the sending unit now works. All right, so there you have it. That concludes this. So I'm just gonna put this in there, but now you kind of know what's going on inside. All right, once again, thanks for watching, and until next time.